What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another Retro Yu-Gi-Oh video, and we've got another Cyber format video. We're nearing the end of my coverage of this format, which took place in September 2005, using the GOAT format ban list and a card pool going up to Cybernetic Revolution, including the collector tin promos like Zarian Universe as well. But I've really enjoyed my time in this format, and I hope that you have too. We'll be diving into Reaper format probably as soon as next week even. But before we leave Cyber format, we still got a couple decks left to show off. One of them being Rescue Cat OTK. Now, Rescue Cat OTK is a deck that also is going around in GOAT a bit, but it did gain a very key feature in this format, which is the access to Cyber End Dragon, Cyber Twin Dragon off of a Cyber Stein. And because you have that powerful access for another alternate line to OTK, the cat deck is running Stein here, or at least my version of it is. Now, if you don't know what Rescue Cat OTK is, basically the idea is if you use a Rescue Cat to bring out like a double Mindless Radiant, let's say, and then you've used Last Will already that turn, so you can bring out another Rescue Cat and then go into a Mindless Radiant plus a Death Wombat. That is lethal damage because each of these Mindless Radiants will be buffing up all Earth monsters by 1,500. So you get these up to 1,800 each. 1,800 times 3 is 5,400. And then the Death Wombat will be at 3,100, adding up to a total of 8,500 points of damage. So if your opponent has an empty board and you go into this combo, then you win the game. Alternatively, if they've got a monster in defense position, let's say, then going into triple Mindless Radiant plus a Gakugari Panda can also be very good. And while it might not be exact lethal or confirmed lethal, it generally will be good enough to be a major push. So this is another one of those OTK decks in the format. And of course, again, as I mentioned, you don't necessarily have to go into double cat now. You can also go into cat, bring out like Radiant and maybe Wombat, and then a Stein as well to go into like a Cyber End or a Cyber Twin. And that should also suffice for the OTK. Now, this is a pretty standard Rescue Cat OTK list from GOAT. The main change that I added was adding this one Cyber Stein to the deck, because my idea was, well, okay, the only reason why you generally want to go above 40 in a format like this is, well, for two reasons. One, if every card in your deck is equally valuable, which, you know, is very rare in these old formats, but theoretically, I guess it could happen. But the main other reason that you'd go into that is if you've got some cards in your deck that you really do not want to draw. Now, going above 40, it doesn't really like make you too much less likely to draw those cards. You know, now it's a 1 out of 41 chance that you draw a Radiant versus a 1 out of 40 chance, right? But, you know, it can add up occasionally, and so that's why we're going 41 here. I honestly didn't know what to really cut beyond this, and I figured, again, since, you know, we don't want to brick on all Radiants, it was fine going to 41 here. So that was my thought process for the deck here, and I got the basis of this deck from goatformat.com, and I just added the Stein. For the side deck, I put it together because goatformat.com didn't have a side deck for the Rescue Cat OTK deck, so I just put in triple Sidra for if you know you're going second. This can be good to bring in. There are also some decks that can struggle against Sidra, so you can bring this in against that. We got double Death Wombat here in case we're up against Burn, and we want to bring in more of these. We got triple Wicked Worm Beast here. You could also play Wicked Worm Beast in the main instead of Wombat. It might actually be a better card in the main than Wombat because you still get the lethal line with the Worm Beast. You deal 8,300 damage instead of 8,500 damage, but that's still lethal. And Worm Beast also returns to your hand, which means your opponent can't bring out Cyber Dragon as easily. So maybe Worm Beast is the way to go in the main as opposed to Wombat here. Time will tell. Also got a Duo in the side for when we know we're going first. Duo you don't necessarily want to play in the main because you don't really care about depleting your opponent's resources in hand. You just want to get in and OTK them. So it's less valuable there, but it might be something that you want to do in the main later. We've got a triple Dust Shoot package as well. If we know we're going first, it can be good to bring in. It is very good against Cyber Stein OTK decks, and also just, you know, Cat OTK as well. It's good against any variety of OTK decks because you try and deprive them their combo pieces. We've also got triple Threatening Roar for those OTK decks as well. Fusion deck is pretty standard for this time. We got Cyber End and Cyber Twin for our OTK enablers. We've got a standard utility package of Dark Bolt Terrible, Dark Blade Dragon Knight, Dark Fire Dragon, and Dragoness are really here for like meta targets. You're not really going to be activating meta anytime soon, unless your opponent activates Exchange or something. But like it can come up, I guess. So it's good to know about these at least. Fiend Skull Dragon, Gatling Dragon, King Dragoon, Master of Oz, the fusion monster for the highest attack in the format. a Ojama King here, Reaper on the Nightmare, Ryu Senshi, Lost Warrior from Another Planet, and Thousand Eyes Restrict. The main ones you're going to be going into are Cyber Twin and Cyber End, but technically you can go into any of these with Cyber Stein, so it is good to know about them. Dragoness actually can come up more than Dark Fairy Dragon as well, because you're playing level limit, so there will be weird edge cases where you want to bring out a level 3 monster with 1200 attack, I guess, so that could come up maybe as well. But that's going to do it for the deck. Again, this deck is just trying to OTK the opponent, stall with things like level limit area B potentially before, going for the big OTK push. A lot of its monsters play under level limit area B as well, which is pretty nice. But if you're going for the Stein push, you generally need to have like a True Nade or a Heavy to clear your own level limit, which can make things a little bit awkward, but generally it is all pretty fine because, again, you can just go for an aggressive, Gekugiri Panda push if you really want to. That's going to do it for the deck breakdown. Let's dive into some games and actually see how this deck plays. Okay, we got our first game here against Highly and a frequent guest on the channel. Always a pleasure to have them on. We're going to be diving into the games, and unfortunately, we do lose the rock, paper, scissors. Now, I got to mention that the games in this video are going to be scuffed in just different ways. This is probably the video with, like, the most scuffed games in it, which is kind of wild, but it does happen sometimes. I still think it's a good showcase for the deck, but sometimes the games will be scuffed. So just keep that in mind while watching these. Opponent opened with Graceful Duo, so that's not good for us at all. We're in kind of an awkward spot. But they just pitch the Ceasefire, which is a bit annoying for us, but not the end of the world. We pitch a rat because we got another rat in hand. They're going to set 3 and bring out Cyberstein. That is very scary. This, to me, says that they likely have some way to stop an attack into Stein, and they're trying to set up Stein for the crackback next turn. Generally, you wouldn't summon this. Generally, you'd hold it in hand because you want to save it, like the surprise factor and stuff. You don't want me to know that you're potentially going for an OTK. I guess they've got Dutch Shoot anyways, so they can get a peek at what we're working with here either way. This is weird. I'm just going to bring out Sangan attack into Stein. If they've got something for this, they've got something for this. But if they don't, they can just go into Cyber End next turn anyways. So it doesn't really matter. And, they don't quite have lethal if they don't have, limiter or something. So I figure, might as well just summon the Sangan into something. Try and bait out a back row that potentially stops attacking. And we do indeed bait out when we bait out the Mirror Force here. We get a search off the Sangan. We're going to grab a Cyber Jar here, which is pretty good for defense. That's why I chose it. It also replenishes our hand, and that can get us into more combo pieces. So we're going to set this Mirror Force. They likely have some way to deal with it, but if they don't, then we're feeling pretty good. They're going to pay 5. They're going to bring out this Cyber Twin. They're going to switch these side defense, set 1, and attack in for 56. Okay, we'll take that. We'll destroy the Cyber Twin. They didn't know about that. They could have potentially brought out, a Ryu Senshi, but that would have been awkward because they would have had to pay an additional 1,000 to negate the Mirror Force. Honestly, here, I might have just attacked in with Stein or switched to defense. It's just kind of an awkward spot to be in for them for sure. We're just going to bring out the rat, attack over the Stein or attempt to, and that will go through. Okay, we're happy with that. We're going to keep the will in hand if they've got duo. Well, actually, they can't really have duo unless this sets Moth. If it's Moth, I don't really care. So, yeah, they're going to snatch our rat, and they're going to attack in for 14 here. And I'm feeling good about this. We get True Nade, which is pretty good as well. We could go for a True Nade play here, but I don't want to yet. I'm going to set this Cyber Jar. They can't TT this because it was a set, not a summon. Our opponent's going to set 1, and they're going to attack into the Cyber Jar here. That will destroy the entire field and get 5 more. So we draw into Cyberstein, which is pretty good for us. Our opponent has a Sinister Serpent that they can bring out. Unfortunately for them, that Fusilier will not be able to be summoned here. I just set these Stein. I don't know exactly what they can do with it, but if they got Brain Con, that would be annoying for us. I guess they've also got Ring, so I don't want them to ring the Stein. So yeah, I'd rather just set it, play around the ring there, and they get a Serpent out. They'll probably set the Serpent, I assume, because they can't do anything to our Stein here. And yeah, they are indeed going to think about the position of the Serpent. They are indeed going to set it. So now they're going to bring out a Fusilier in main phase 2, just summon that out. And then they're going to set 2, activate meta, go into Last Warrior, which is a bit awkward for us, but we do still have lethal here because what we can do, we can heavy storm the back row there and then just go for pot just in case they've got Kariba or something and I want to go for a different line, but Snatch should do it. So we snatch up that Last Warrior and that will kill. So we're going in to the second game here. We are going second, and we decided into the Threatening Roars because it seems like they're on an OTK deck here. They're just going to set 3, pass back to us. They activate Dust Shoot. They send back this jar here and shuffle that back in. I summon out the Lily, and then I set the Cylinder and the Roar. They do know about all this already, So I don't really feel the need to set double roar. If they've got decree, then they're going to fire decree in the end phase here anyways. So setting double roar doesn't really do anything on this board. So I'd rather just set cylinder and roar and just pass back to them. I'm not really too afraid of heavy because if they heavy, we've got roar. So that's one of the nice things about roar in this deck. They flip up a Dekoichi, they go for the snatch on the Lily, and they're going to bring out a breaker. They're going to choose not to use the popping effect, likely fearing hitting the roar, which I'm very fine about. But then they choose not to pop the cylinder. I think they probably should have popped the cylinder just because they have a strong read that it is cylinder. And even if it is roar, you're depriving it from a next turn. So I feel like popping the set would have been better there, but we gain 1,000 from the snatch. We go for the Graceful Charity here, and that actually is a really good draws off this. So we pitch the Wombat and the Will because I was really thinking here for a bit. Wombat was always getting pitched because I think the move here is definitely summoning out Rat, crashing into the Dekoichi, and then hitting over the breaker with the Lily after we go for a True Nade there. We could also just go for Summon Rat, just try and crash into Lily. That doesn't really benefit us as much because they can just let it go, and then we don't get our Lily back. And I'd like to get our Lily back so that way we can go aggressive, get them below the 5,000 life point threshold. So what I ultimately decided to do, I was debating between pitching Roar and pitching Will, because I could have activated Will here preemptively, crashed the Rat into the Dekoichi, and then gotten out something else. But there aren't really too many good options to get off of Will here. I mean, Injection Fairy Lily is already in play, so I can't bring that out, and nothing else does anything during the battle phase. So I chose to pitch the Will because I figured this should be fine. I go for True Nade here, and that will shuffle back everything. And now I'm feeling really good about this play. We bring out the Rat, we crash into the Koichi there. We bring out another Rat just in case, they manage to mount an offensive pressure here. I don't really want to commit into any of the targets we've got for it. I guess I could have gone for like a Worm Beast, but I don't really feel like that's necessary. We attack in for another 14. That gets them down to 5,100, so it doesn't quite get them below the 5,000 threshold. So maybe that's why I should have gone for Will here, just to push them below that threshold. But I mean, they don't have Decree. If they've got like True Nade or Heavy, I can just roar it. So I feel like it's not really as necessary. They go for a Snatch Steal there. They're going to set 2. They're going to attack into the Rat with the Cyber Dragon. We're going to use Magic Cylinder on that to deal them 2,100. And now they're in a really tough spot. They choose to attack in with the Lily here over the Rat. So now they're down to 1,000, and that puts them in an even awkwarder spot because now we just bring out the Rat here. And next turn we can attack into Lily, and it looks like they don't have a way to deal with that. So I don't think maybe they thought we sided out of a Rat here, but we could have gotten to Panda. So yeah, I don't know. Definitely a bit of a weird one, but it does show that this deck can be very threatening, even if it doesn't pull off the, sort of OTK that it's known for. But let's try and get a game where we actually do pull off that OTK. Okay, we got our next game against Ketchup YGO Official, continuing the scuffed replay streak, as you will see. But that's part of fun. I think it's fun watching scuffed replays as well as, good replays, but I think these replays are also good as well as scuffed. They can be both, But our opponent's going to go for a duo here, pitch the Book, and we have a couple options here. I could pitch the Wombat, hoping for a double Will play here. I could also pitch one of the Wills because we already have one. I ultimately decided to pitch the Will just to give us a little bit more flexibility. Next turn we can summon out Wombat, attack in for 16, and go from there. And we draw into a Radiant here, which is a bit awkward. We are just going to choose to go for the Wombat here, attack in for 16, dropping them down to 54. Not ideal because they can still go for a Stein play here. They can also now bring out Sidra if they didn't have one to start with. So it's a bit awkward. They go for a Breaker here, attack into the Wombat, dealing us 3. And then they are going to just pass back to us. So I feel really good about that. We should be able to have lethal here. But unfortunately, I miscalculate the lethal, which is where we get the scuffness of this replay. So I go for Stein here. I bring out Twin, and I go for Last Will, because the plan is I'm going to crash Stein into the Breaker, bring out a monster from deck, and then I have 900 over the Breaker plus 2,800 with the Cyber Twin, and whatever I bring out should be enough to do it here. Unfortunately, I miscalculate, and we are actually slightly off if we do that. What I should have done is I should have also gone for Premat here to bring back the Death's Wombat. So I misplayed this, and it might cost me the game here. Either way, we're not going to be able to OTK this turn. I can bring out Rat, but I can't go into Lily because I'm too low on life. So yeah, it's a bit awkward here. Unfortunately, I miscalculated, and I've got to basically act like I did not. So I'm just going to drop them down to 300, act like this was all part of the plan, set the pre-map, pass back to them. They're going to set 2, pass back to us. We draw a Knock here. We're going to go for the Knock, banish that, And now we're going to banish our own Cyber Dragon from the deck. We're going to attack in with everything here. I could have switched the rat to defense to play around a Mirror Force, but I figured if they're on like Sakuretsu or things like that, I want to have the rat to be able to attack in as well. And I do have this Radiant in hand to set next turn if I really need it. They do indeed go for the mirror, so we lose both those. We set the Radiant, pass back to them. They've got a side right here, and they've got a knock as well, so that will be the end of the game. So if I hadn't miscalculated there, we would have been able to win that game. But unfortunately, you know, you got to be able to do math in these formats, and I was not able to that game. So we're going to go into game 2. Hopefully we can still turn this one around, even though I missed the line there. But yeah, hopefully this one will be pretty good. I mean, that's a really good opener, especially with that will there. That's really good. We're going to set the Cyber Jar, keep the will in hand. Keep everything in hand, really. If they've got duo, I want more like, you know, fodder for things to discard. And I don't want to play into like a breaker or an MST or a heavy and lose one of my powerful back rows. Because the plan next turn, if they don't attack into Cyber Jar, flip up Cyber Jar, activate will, and profit. We also want the heavy to deal with their back row to stop them from stopping that play. So our opponent is going to go for a Thunder Dragon here, adding 2 more Thunder Dragons from deck to hand. So it seems like they might be on a bit of a chaos strat. They're going to set 1, pass back to us. That's really good for us. We're going to go for this last will here, flip up this Cyber Jar, pop the entire board. And they have a Sangan, but that might not be good enough. We draw a cat and another will. So that is really good for us. We actually can kill even through Karibo here, I think. But, you know, killing through Karibo does take some calculation, but we should be fine here either way because we still got all the Radiants left in deck. And so we should be able to do some crazy cat plays here. We also have not normal summons, so we could go for a Stein play as well if we really want to. But this will definitely be well over lethal. We get to bring out a cat off of our first will. We're going to activate the second will there. We're going to bring out Radiant and Radiant. And we're going to bring out a Lily off that will. Then we're going to go for another cat here, bring out a Panda and a Radiant. And this should be more than enough damage. Yeah, and now we go for pot just to try and draw into like maybe a knock or something. But our opponent just scoops it up. They're like, you know, you had enough damage there. You win the game. And we knew it was Sangan. So the Panda would have been dealing, it would have been at 13 plus 15, so 28. So Panda deals 22. And then the Mindless Radiants deal 5,400. So that's 7,600. We don't even have to pump for Lily to kill from that position. So yeah, so that's the OTK. You know, if you manage to pull that off, it can be very, very oppressive for your opponent. And even if they had set back row there, we had the heavy. So we were in a very, very good spot. But anyways, our opponent's going to open here. They're going to draw. They're going to set 3, pass back to us. And it's looking pretty good for us. They're going to go for Dust Shoot, taking our rat, which is a little bit unfortunate, but not the worst thing in the world. We're going to go for a Pot of Greed here, draw 2. There's no way we can play around Dust Shoot there, even if we set the Limiter and the Mirror Force. After we drew 2, we'd be at 4 anyways, so no way to play around Dust Shoot. So we're going to draw 2 off that pot. We're going to bring out this Des Wombat, set 2, pass, or not pass, attack into the set in case it's Morphing Jar. We don't want to lose the level limit and the Mirror Force, and we're planning on committing these both to field anyways because our opponent doesn't know about it. We also have this extra level limit in hand, so even if they clear the first level limit, we've got the second. But it looks like the set is just going to be a Dekoichi. So they'll get to draw. We flip up the level limit area B, pass back to them. They're going to go for Snatch on our Des Wombat. We could Mirror Force this, but I'm fine just taking the 16 because we gain 1,000 here. And we drew into Cat. Okay, so now we can go for a True Nade here and try and go for a lethal push. I mean, they might have ways to stop this, like Threatening Roar or something, so we could try and do other things as well. But I think it is just good going for the True Nade. And they're going to Scapegoat as well here, getting out 4 goat tokens. So it's not Threatening Roar, but it is still pretty good for us. Because now we can go for Rescue Cat, bring out double Gyakugere Panda here. We could also have brought out Gyakugere Panda plus Milo's Radiant, but this does more damage overall because both these things have piercing. So even though they're not being buffed up by the Radiants, they're still in a good spot. So we're going to attack into one of their tokens that will deal 28, not 38. And then we're going to attack into the next, which will deal 23. So our opponent should be at 2,900 total here. They do indeed just that. We also hit into... did we hit into a third token? We should have hit into a third token. I guess we didn't hit into a third token. I guess we forgot to with the Wombat. It doesn't really matter that much. I think we should still be fine here either way. They're going to go for Snatch on the Wombat. That's fine by us. They're going to attack in for 16. And we just take it again. We're gaining 1,000 from this. Oh, I guess we're not gaining 1,000 from this. Okay, that's fine. Whatever they set there can't get through our level limit. So we're fine just bringing up Radiant attacking into a token here, clearing the way, trying to get them off of Thousand Eyes Restrict if they've got that. They're going to set another pass back to us. We draw a knock here. So we're going to knock their new set after we attack into the token. I want to knock the new set because the monster that they tributed is likely not a flip monster. That set could be like a Moth. It could be another Koichi. I don't want them to get that flip effect off. So it's a Stein, which is now dead. So good bait from our opponent. But yeah, we're just going to pass back to them and see what they do. They're going to set one pass back to us. We draw a Rescue Cat here. Now we could potentially go for a lethal push with that cat. We still have a Panda left in deck. We still have a Radiant left in deck. So we could summon out cat, go for Panda double Radiant, and we've also got Last Will here to bring out even more stuff to go even further. But I am a little bit worried about that back row. I don't necessarily want to play into something that could be like a Mirror Force on their part or a variety of other things. And I think that we can save this until we draw into like True Nade or Heavy, because we have only used up one True Nade. We still got more left in deck. So I figure we can bide our time a little bit. We don't have to go for the OTK yet. And I think sometimes you just have to do this and know when it is okay to do this, because I don't know how they're really getting through that level limit anytime soon. I mean, if they draw like Heavy or something, then that will do it. But I think we should still be fine, because without Cyberstein access, they don't have many ways to kill us here from 58. So they're going to flip up a Koichi. That'll switch to defense, and they're going to draw a card. They're going to set one pass back to us. We draw a Snatch Steal here. They've got the Dust Shoot, so that'll take away our cat. So no cat OTK for us anytime soon until we redraw into one of those. And our opponent is going to pass back to us. We draw a Rat, which is pretty good. We can set that, pass back to them. And they're going to Tribute 2, go for a Demok here. Okay. That's a little bit scary because they can get back a powerful spell from Grave, but they don't really have too many good spells here. We do have Ring for the Demok as well. They're at 2,900 now, but if they drop even 100 life points lower, potentially paying for like a Premat or a Braincon, then we can kill them by ringing the Demok. So I feel very, very good about that. They're going to set 2, pass back to us. We draw into another Rat here. Oh yeah, that Demok is in defense due to level limit. We're going to set that Rat. They're going to think, and then they're going to pass back to us. They're going to pass again. We draw a Knock. We're going to pass back to them. It's just the passing game here. We've got level limit up. That's sort of slowing the pace of play down a lot. And now I've sort of almost got an alt win con if, I can ring their Demok. Also, if they do ever bring up BLS, BLS will kill them with ring. So it looks like they are indeed going to bring up BLS. Now, I don't necessarily want to use the ring yet. What I kind of want to do here, I'm fine with them banishing the Radiant. I wanted to use Snatch on BLS, try and bait out a book. If they did not book us, then we could banish the BLS, or not the BLS, the Demok with the BLS's effect. Then we could go for ring on the BLS, because they wouldn't likely have a way to stop that easily. But they go for a card D here, so our plans are sort of thrown off the rails a little bit here. So they're going to draw 5 off that. We draw 4 off that, but Ceasefire is a really good backup plan here. So I'm feeling really good about Ceasefire. We can set up a win con through Ceasefire in a couple turns if we just set monsters, so I'm feeling good about that. They're going to Tribute set over the BLS to play around ring, I think. And that's a very smart play, because now we don't have that ring access, but we do have ways to use ring and Ceasefire in conjunction to potentially kill our opponent. They're going to go for a call on the BLS, and we will let that go through, because again, I want to pair the Ceasefire and the ring together in case they do have a book. So we are going to ring the BLS, and it looks like they do not have a way to stop that. Also, all their back row are filled now, so even if they had a book in hand, which it looks like they don't, but if they did have a book in hand, they couldn't activate it here. So ring on BLS will do it. Ceasefire will also do it as a secondary win con. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. And that will be the end of the game. So we were able to claw this one back, even though we did the math wrong in game 1. We were able to correctly do it in games 2 and 3, and we were able to win this match. This wasn't the only game I got against Kesha, though, so let's dive into the next one now. Okay, we got our last game for the video, last game against Kesha. If you enjoy this sort of retro Yu-Gi-Oh gameplay, then definitely subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 1,400. I'd really like to reach that by the end of the month, so please help us get to that goal if you can. But this is a really good opener for us. We draw a Radiant, and we're just going to activate level limit, set the Ceasefire, pass back to them. The reason we do not commit the Graceful here is that we want to save Graceful to fix our hand for a potential OTK push, and also we want to, if they've got Dust Shoot or something, we want to use this to be resilient against the Dust Shoot. So I don't want to use this yet. I figure I can save it a turn. There's not really much I'm doing since I'm just sitting on this level limit. So our opponent's going to pitch a Thunder Dragon, add 2 more Thunder Dragons to hand. They're getting a Light Engrave. It's a bit scary. They're going to go for a duo here. If they hit Graceful, we get majorly punished here. But, you know, that's only a 1/3 chance, and it looks like they hit the pre-mat, so we're very happy about that. We'll pitch this Radiant. They're going to set 1 pass back to us. We draw a Book of Moon, which is pretty good. We're going to go for a Graceful here, draw 3, pitch 2. We got to think about exactly which ones we want to pitch. We're going to pitch the Book and the Lily, because what I want to do now is I want to just bring out the Gekigiri, flip up this Radiant, and then get in over that set. We want to save Ring as removal, and we also want to use it, potentially put them below the 5,000 life point threshold here. So we're going to attack in for a fair amount of damage, and then we're actually going to pass back to them, because I'm calculating this, and I'm like, well, if they've got Heavy or True Nade, then I can go for Ceasefire here and put them below the 5,000 life point threshold that way. I don't need the Ring. I can save Ring for after they Heavy or True Nade and use it on one of their monsters. So maybe I should have kept the Lily, because maybe Lily would have been more damage overall in a case like this. But I think it's ultimately fine. They go for the Heavy. We use the Ceasefire here. Deal them 1,000. They're going to go for pre-mat here as well. Pay 8 and bring out a monster that they'll then tribute over the Thundra. They're going to meta the Thundra away and go for the Dark Balter here. They're going to hit over our Panda here. That'll be, it should just be 200, because they do have a monster on field now. But I forget about that. I don't think it actually comes up in this game. We draw into Will, which is very interesting. We're thinking about exactly what to do here. We could fire Will now and then try and crash the Radiant in if they don't negate it with Balter. So I think I am just going to actually do that. If they do choose to negate it, that's 1,000 damage, so we feel fine about that. And if they don't, then we get a play here. So we go for the Will, and, you know, they're going to say, actually, I'm going to respond to the Will. I moved a little bit too quickly this game. I think that was just a general trend with this game, as you might see in the next part of it. But yeah, I should have confirmed that they were indeed negating. It doesn't change much. This was the obvious sort of Will play there. So I do believe that they would have just negated that. We're going to set the Panda here. You might wonder why I didn't ring the Balter last turn, because I just let the Balter attack into the Radiant there. And the reason for that is I want to save the ring for if they get a bit more aggressive. Maybe they've used up a Brincon or something on one of our monsters, although that's kind of unlikely. But, you know, maybe we can save the ring for a more high impact target if they bring out like BLS or something. We can ring that. Like, there are potential ways to save this, and I don't really value the Radiant on field as much as just ringing that Balter. So I'm going to let them attack in again, and because I value the Panda a little bit more, I am going to ring the Balter here. So we do each lose 2,000, and they're down to 600, which is very, very killable from our perspective. We draw a Last Will, which is really good. So we're going to activate the Last Will here. We don't have a guarantee trigger for this, but I figure, you know, if they don't have like Threatening Roar is really the one thing that like stops this play. But if they don't have that, we should likely have this game on lock. It does depend on what the set is. If the set's like Dekoichi, then we don't win this turn. We just deal them 300, which is also pretty good. But I do feel like if it's not, then we're pretty good position, because they can't Mirror Force us, or else we bring out another Panda. It can't Saku us for the same reason. And so I feel like this should be just likely lethal damage. We attack into the set, and that will indeed be the end of the game. Looks like they had Mirror Force indeed. So yeah, I'm very glad I activated the Will beforehand. As a note, in Cyber format, you do need to activate Will before a monster gets sent to grave, just like in Goat format. So that's why I had to activate it there. I couldn't activate it main too. But our opponent is going first this game. They're going to pitch a Thundra, add 2 more Thundras to hand here. Or, oh, just a 1. Oof, that's... I know what that means. They must have opened 2 Thundras. That hurts. But they're going to set 1 pass back to us. We have a bit of a different options if we want to go for them here. We could go for Cat and bring up Panda plus Radiant and get in over the set, attack him directly with Radiant. That's a bit underwhelming here. I want to save the Cat for when we draw Last Will. So what I'm actually going to do here, I'm going to go for Stein, pay 5,000. And then I'm going to bring out this Cyber End Dragon. So I'm going to set 2 just in case it's Morphing Jar. We did see Morphing Jar out of them last game, so might as well play it safe. And I would have set these anyways, because I want the Book and the Ring to protect my Stein, because there are multiple ways that they can kill us through this board, but Book and Ring do complicate that a little bit. So we attack in to the Koichi there, deal 3,000, and we attack in for 700. So we do drop them below their own Stein range, which I feel very good about. They're going to blind MST one of our back row. We set down the Cyber End Dragon, so that way they can't Snatch Shield it or something. Because unfortunately they are not below 4,000. So even if we ring Cyber End, they will still survive. We will indeed die to that. So I want to book down the Cyber End. They're going to attack in to the Cyberstein here. And I think a bit about this. I think about whether I want to ring the Cyber Dragon or whether I want to ring the Cyberstein. And I ultimately decide to ring the Cyberstein, because if they've got a ring of their own, I don't want them just summoning out a monster in main 2 and just, using ring on their next turn to kill us, or on our next turn to kill us. And I'm very glad I did that in hindsight, because they had a limiter in hand. So what they could have done if we targeted the Cyber Dragon with the ring, they could have activated limiter, buffed it up to 4,200, and then they actually still would have survived because they had 4,300, but we would have lost the game there. So I'm very happy with how that turned out. They're going to set one pass back to us. We draw another Rescue Cat. We're just going to set the Rat pass back to them. Again, Rescue Cat's a little bit awkward here. If we go for Panda plus Radiant, we're leaving ourselves wide open. So I don't really want to do that. They're going to flip up a Dekoichi here, attack in to our Rat. They're going to take 50 from that, and then they're going to set one pass back to us. We draw a Cyberjar here. That's pretty good. We're going to think about exactly what to do. We're going to indeed go for the Rescue Cat here, because I feel like we're in a pretty good spot. We're going to switch the Rat to attack, and the plan here is we attack into the set with Panda, because they've still got 2 monsters on their side of the field. Then we attack into the Dekoichi with Rat, bring out like Lily potentially, and we should be able to win this game through a lot of different things here. But unfortunately for us, it is a Cyberjar, so that will pop the entire field there, and so we won't quite be able to do our lethal line. And we do get a lot of monsters here, so that's pretty hype. They're at 2650. Can we kill them here? We got one Panda that's 8. We got another Panda that's 16. We got a Rescue Cat that's 19. And we've got a Morphing Jar with 2600. Doesn't kill them. No! They're down to 50 life points there. We don't have any protection for these things. They've got a side rep plus a limiter. So if we do bring these things out and attack, we just lose the game from that. So, yeah, just very unfortunate with how the life points worked out there. Oof, rough stuff. Yeah, we could have potentially had game here if things were just a little teensy bit different. But, you can't begrudge that sort of thing. And, yeah, so we're just going to set everything because, again, we don't have any protection for these things. So we just might as well set it all. And maybe Morphing Jar will be able to give us a better hand next turn. But we're going to set everything here. And then main 2 just set the Snatch as a bluff. They can kill us here. They can kill us here. I don't really care about like MST or Heavy here. They're going to bring out the Sidra. And they're going to not add that to hand. They're going to banish it. Banish the Light and a Dark. And they're going to go for a Sork here. So better than BLS for us. But they do have a Dekoichi as well. And then they're going to set 4, try and attack into the Morphing Jar, I assume. And they will indeed hit the Morphing Jar, pitching our entire hand and pitching their entire hand. So now we know some of the back row. We know they've got a limiter. We know they've got a threatening roar back there. So we've got some powerful stuff. They're going to hit into one of our pandas. They're going to hit into another of our pandas. So they will take 2 from that. They're still in a really good spot. That threatening roar does complicate things. Also, the card destruction that they drew also complicates things. We can't heavy the board now, which we really wanted to do to deprive them of the limiter and the threatening roar. But now True Nade is a lot better for them because they can just threatening roar in response to the True Nade, and we're in a bit of an awkward spot. We drew 2 Radiants there. I really like how aggressive they've been with things like card destruction and our own Morphing Jar because they're trying to deprive us of cat targets, and now we don't really have any good ones left in deck. So it's a bit awkward for us. We got to think about what to do here. But what we ultimately decide to do is we go for True Nade. They go for Dust Shoot, and here I make actually like a procedural error. And I should not have done this, but I wasn't thinking at the time. So they go for Dust Shoot. I just instinctively show them my hand because I'm like, well, there's the Dust Shoot. I guess I'm going to show them my hand. But I should have asked for if they had anything to chain to that because they likely would have just chained Threatening, right? They're doing Dust Shoot because it's on field and they want to deprive us of any potential like OTK lines or something like that. But also they probably do have a Threatening back there, which we do know about because they added to hand off Cyberjar and they didn't pitch it here. So Threatening's probably in the back row too. I should have waited to see if they wanted to do Threatening, or should have asked if they wanted to do Threatening. As is, they feel that because they're resolving Dust Shoot, they now can't do Threatening Roar anymore. So that is a big mistake on my part. I apologize to Kesha for that mistake, and I'll try and be more careful about that in the future. But that is also what makes this game scuffed. So, you're seeing the scuffiness, rearing its head in all these games here. But since they did not activate the Threatening Roar, we do indeed have lethal here. So we're going to go for the pre-mat on the Wombat, bring out a Mindless Radiant, snatch that Chaos Sork, flip up this cat. We can't cat anything out because we don't have any targets left in deck. We need 2 of them, and all we've got is the Radiant. We've gone through all the other targets in our deck. So we can't cat, but, at least it is 800 attacking in here. And then we should be pretty good just to attack in and wipe out their entire board. And that will be lethal damage there. So, kind of unfortunate. I wanted to do the True Nade just to get the Roar out of the way. I think we were probably losing this game if we, gave them another turn because they had Heavy here. So they could stop our Cylinder and Book. They had the limiter as well to buff up their own things. If they had used threatening, then we would have just snatched the Chaos Orc and banished it with its own effect. But I feel like we would have been in a really, really bad spot here overall. So I think we would have lost this one if that procedural error did not occur there. So I apologize for that. Game 3, who knows what would have happened. And I do think we showed a good set of 3 games in the middle there, because it does show how powerful this deck can be. It's very, very strong, and the addition of Cyberstein to the deck as well adds a lot of explosive power to it. Something else you can bring off Will and do crazy things with. So I think Cat is honestly a sleeper deck in this format. So I'm curious to see if more people will play it. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope that you enjoyed as always. Let me know what you think about the deck and the games I played down in the comments below. I know I did misplay, as I mentioned, because these games were pretty scuffed. But, any sort of other misplays that I didn't mention in the video would be helpful to see, because I'm always trying to get better with these decks. Also, if you want to support me directly, I have a Patreon link in the description down below as well. If you join the Patreon, you get shout out in these videos. So big shout outs to GMYFS, Tyler Compton, Dumbtruck, Porkchop Coon, Bread Knocker, and Rincewind. It really means a lot that you all support me this way and encourages me to make more videos like this. If you want to play Cyber format or any other format that I featured on the channel, definitely head on over to the YGO from Zero Discord server, link in the description down below. Great place to find games in this and any other format that I've covered, as well as to join the tournaments that we hold every month and our weekly locals as well. I hope you enjoyed the video as always, and until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.